So in about 7 minutes or so, we'll start to wind down and move to the next moment. About 5 more minutes, people. Okay, I think in a minute or two we'll sort of stop, and you can begin to think now about how you'd like to share what your story is about with the rest of the group, and how it was informed by those opening paragraphs that you had been given. I don't think we'll have time to read everybody's, so I think what we'll do is have you do, you can read a little bit if you like, and then give a sort of a summary or an outline what the story was about. But give me just a second, I'll tell you when. Do you want to begin then? Yes, okay. Wait. I'll just make sure everyone stopped writing so that we can begin. So are we all ready to move on to talking? I mean, you can scribble while we, read. Go ahead. Okay, John, thank you.
This continuation from your first paragraph, introduction rather. Mrs. Sen wasn't her mother. Her mother had left her with Mrs. Sen, a friend, and had disappeared. They had been music teachers in a school. She hadn't seen her father at all. They say he is a writer, a journalist who worked in a city daily. But he didn't come to visit her at all. Every day Mrs. Sen gave her music lessons. She taught her to play the harmonium, the veena and the bamboo flute. She also gave her lessons in Western music on a piano. Sangeeta went to the school where Mrs. Sen taught.
So,
Shall I?
Yeah, so if you can then give us a sense then of what the story is going to be about. It doesn't have to have come to its conclusion. Put the mic to you. Okay, because we need to be able to get everybody
it's a para.
in.
It's in the middle of a para. She was good in studies also. She also sang well. Her voice had depth and sweetness. Everybody in school appreciated her singing and said she should audition for India's Got Talent. So what happens after that is that she appears for India's Got Talent, she wins. She gets a lot of money also.
Yes.
And Mrs. Sen puts all the money in a bank account.
Okay.
And she's rich. So it's going on like that.
Yes, marvelous.
And immediately, means all of a sudden, her mother,
Yes.
who had abandoned her, comes back.
Ah.
She had seen her on television.
Ah.
So now she knows she's rich and she has a lot of money. And she wants to take her back.
Oh, interesting. So what you picked up on was really the sense that Mrs. Sen is somehow her caretaker.
Yeah.
And that the child can sing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's exciting.
And then it doesn't end there. And
But
then at the end, Mrs. Sen is in the house. How I link it to the pink doll.
Yes.
In the house, because Sangeeta had forgotten to take the doll with her to Delhi, wherever she has gone.
Okay.
So in the end, Mrs. Sen is staring at the doll
Yes.
and thinking of Sangeeta, where she would be missing the doll.
Ah. Oh, that's nice. Yes.
How I tied that.
Okay. Interesting. Who would like to go next? Monica? Okay.
You want me to tell you about the story or the story?
I would like you to tell me how these opening paragraphs sort of led you into the story. Okay. Not necessarily how, but you can tell the story and
Right.
we'll figure
What
it out.
I felt was that there was a conflict in this little child's mind,
Yes.
and she had a bad childhood. Maybe she was an orphan or whatever, I gathered. And I built it up from there.
Yes.
What I wrote in my story, I can read just a paragraph after a little while.
Yes.
I felt that the story is somewhere that as soon as she felt the hands on her face,
Yes.
the touch reminded her of another pair of hands where she had worked for with a lady.
Yes.
And she was a middle-aged woman who being an orphan, she had worked for her maybe as a maid or something. I haven't made it clear. But at that time, this lady, being a middle-aged woman, very lonely, on hot afternoons, she closed the shutters of the windows and closed the doors, and with just the air conditioner running, she started stroking her in all ways, except the real correct one. And she remembers those hands, they transport her to that place. And now this lady, Mrs. Sen, who has rescued her, so to speak, from the situation where she had been found, and she is taking her, she has formed